All right, we're live. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Kenny Harper, and this is an amplified power session, and it's 20 minutes, and we're going to be covering some actionable insights, things that you can put into action to start improving your business. And why do you want to improve your business? Because when you improve your business, you can provide more impact, you can provide to the clients you serve, right? You can provide a better experience for your customers, and you can experience the benefits of being a business owner. Now, today we're talking about 8 drivers of how you can increase the value of your business. Now, why am I talking about this topic? I'm working with an exit planner who helps contractors go through the transition. Everyone, no matter if you're starting your business, you're in the middle, you're in a growth stage, you're coming towards the end, everyone has an end game. At some point in time, they're not going to be able to continue doing their business the way they initially planned. It's just Hakuna Matata. It's the circle of life. So when is the best time to start planning on an exit strategy? Well, when you actually start. One of the 7 habits of highly effective people, written by Stephen Covey, is to begin with the end in mind, right? So we want to think about the end now. So if we know we want to get to a certain destination, we want to start taking actions now to paddle ourselves in that direction so we can reach the destination, right? So isn't this supposed to be about value drivers, Kenny? Get to the point. All right, so this content, it's coming from this book, Built to Sell. This is by John Warrillow. Hello. John Warrillow wrote this book, Built to Sell, and he built this value builder system. And there's a lot of things that you can do that will start increasing the value of your business now. So at some point in time, when you're looking to sell the business, it'll be worth what you'd want to sell it for, or at least closer to it. The studies and statistics are out. A lot of people get to the end of the business and they haven't built a business that's saleable. Or even if they're able to sell it, they're only getting a fraction of what they think they should get because they haven't built a value into their business. So without further ado, let's start breaking that down and looking at the different principles. This is part 1 of a 2-part series, and there are 8 strategies to build value into your business. Now I'm going to go over each strategy and explain it. And what I encourage you to do is think about how you're showing up right now in regards to the strategy on a scale of 1 to 10. That's 5. We can do 1 to 5, where 1, you haven't put any thought to it. Maybe you're doing horrible at it. And 5 is you're doing so awesome you couldn't possibly improve. It's really good. And 3 is bad average. So we're just trying to get an idea of where you're at now. So the first thing we're talking about in one of these strategies is reducing owner dependency. So I'm just going to put number 1 up here and you say, oh my gosh, I'm not left-handed. So this is going to be fun. Oh my gosh. I should have thought this through. Owner, I can't even see that very well. Well, listen in and I'll walk you through it. Your business should run without you being involved in the day-to-day operations. Maybe when you're starting off, it has to, but you should be thinking, how do I build a business that can run without me? And in order to do this, you would need to build systems, processes, and team managers to be able to run those systems and processes so the business can run without you. So I'm just going to come over here and speak up a little bit, because this is I'm not left-handed. So you do not want a business that is owner dependent. So you're going to rate 1 to 5, where 1 is low and 5 is high, or 1 is bad and 5 is good. Maybe that's better. Okay, so how dependent on a scale of 1 to 5 is your business on you? A buyer wants to buy a business, not a job. A buyer wants a business that runs, makes money, makes cash flow, makes profits, but they don't have to work. So if you do not have, if your business cannot run without you at all, it would be a 1. If you have it running without you, you could take a week or 2 off and it would run and still work and still be profitable, it'd be a 5. Don't worry about trying to solve it right now. Just get clarity on where you're at with number 1, reducing owner dependency. And then the takeaway from this particular section is to document processes and delegate key responsibilities. So what are the key processes that keeps your business functioning and running? Document them so that they can be done consistently, and then delegate the key responsibilities. So you've got people on your team that are taking the right actions to keep things in motion. Got it? All right. So next, we're going to go to number 2, which is focusing on recurring revenue. Recurring. Oh my gosh. Recurring revenue. And I'm just going to simplify this and just put rev. How about that? So a lot of people are looking to have a business that can generate money. If you sell a product and you just sell it and then hopefully you can get people to buy it again, that's not as valuable than if you have a product or service where people are continuing to come back each month, like a subscription-based service. Or if you're an accountant or CPA, you've got clients that are committing to come back on a regular basis. One firm I was working with, they're a CPA. They typically have clients come back, but there's no guarantee. Each year they'll do their taxes. Then the following year, they'll see who shows up again. They hope that people will show up again, but they don't have any agreements in place. You want to try to establish recurring revenue. Recurring revenue elevates the value for the business. So that's an important part. It helps create predictable income and dramatically increases a business's valuation. So think about subscriptions, contracts, retainers, and memberships. Those are ideal. History lesson: when I was starting my career, I started off as a freelance web designer. Who would have known 20 years later that you can create your own websites within a few seconds? But at the time, you had to know what you were doing. And it would be feast or famine. You would either have several different projects at the same time, and it would be stretching your capacity. Then you would complete the projects, cash flow comes in, but then you're out looking for the next projects. It was project-based work. But if you didn't have recurring revenue, you're going to run into challenges. It's going to be feast or famine. So what I realized is I needed to shift from doing project-based work to more of an agency model where people would sign up to have recurring services. And so that had a huge difference in my business, in my cash flow, in my sanity. So number 2, recurring revenue, scale 1 to 5. Is your recurring revenue situation 1, not that great? You're doing a lot of project-based work, just selling products? Or do you have 5, you've got your membership locked in, subscriptions locked in, and all that is working? All right, number 3. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry for the handwriting. This says niche. So you could be the jack of all trades and the master of none, or you can be the one go-to professional who's known as the authority in their space. So if you're selling expertise, it's helpful to have a niche. It's helpful to be known as the guy who works with these sort of people who does this sort of job, or the gal who works with this sort of people who provides this sort of value. So we want to think about niche, and you want to think about how are you doing with niche? One, I don't have a niche. I serve anybody, any type of client. Or five, I've got an industry, I've got an avatar, we provide a certain service, we are niched. So businesses that dominate a niche command higher valuations. So if you really say, hey, we're known in the space, we're known in the associations, we're known in the community, we're really crushing it when it comes to being known in this industry, that's going to be a higher valuation than if you're just a nice service provider that helps a lot of different people. Specialists are easier to market and differentiate. So the more that you can be known for something, known for a specific thing, the better. That's an important part of this component. So if you're looking at your business, I was just talking to a CPA who owns their own business this morning. She's been in business for some time. She has some experience. And we talked about, does she niche her business? She says she does not. She said she hasn't figured it out yet. I said, well, one of the things that I've learned on my journey is you can niche your marketing without having to niche your whole business. What does that even mean? So if you want to get more high worth clientele, I asked her, I said, who are some accounts that you've worked with that they had the money, they could pay you, they were easy to work with? She said, attorneys. I said, all right, well, you can niche your marketing and reach out to high worth professionals, attorneys in particular. You can build relationships with attorneys. You can contact associations, organizations, and groups that have attorneys in them, offer to provide value to their group, like doing a webinar or a free workshop or providing a resource. If you can make friends with the leader of those communities, then you're working smarter, not harder. So rather than trying to go out and say, I can help anyone, I'm going to niche my message. I don't have to niche my whole business, but I can niche my message, and then I'm going to be really focused on getting my message to my market. It is so noisy, it is so crowded to get anyone's attention, right? You know that. So if you're just putting stuff out there, hoping people see it, chances are they're not. So what does work is if you know who you're trying to speak to, and you can reach out to them directly, but not with pushing your service, right? Because if you're pushing your service, you can push people away, but with providing value, with offering value. So again, in the example of the CPA, we said, let's think about attorneys. Let's think about where they're hanging out, which groups you know that you could reach out to, and maybe present a small workshop to the group. I've seen someone do that successfully. I was working with a CPA firm that worked with kind of psychiatrists. He connected with a group. He was able to speak to that group. He generated over 100 leads in one presentation in one day, really, of his, less than one day of his time, a few hours of his time. He generated 100 leads by focusing on niching his message and going right to the source. So takeaway, be known for one specific thing rather than many things. You can niche your audience. You can also niche your service. What is the thing you do really, really well? One more second with that CPA that I was talking about. She said she wanted to do more tax planning for business owners, and attorneys would be a great focus. But what she was getting is a lot of random projects here and there. So we need to highlight your niche so that you can put that message out there. If you start putting that message out there that people know you for being the expert of tax planning for attorneys, then they'll think of you when that need arises. So 1 to 5, how are you doing when it comes to niche, whether it's your target market or your product or service? 1 being, I don't have any niche. I'm not really known for anything particular. 5 being I've got it dialed in. People know me. I'm the authority in my space. All right, so finally we're going to go to number 4. Sorry for the handwriting. I'm not left-handed. And we're looking for, I'm just going to put 4 words here, 4-letter word, team. In particular, a strong management team. So if you want to build more value into your business, a buyer wants to know the company will run smoothly after the acquisition, right? If you're going to buy a business, think about it for yourself. If you're going to buy a business, you wouldn't want to buy a business that couldn't run, couldn't continue to make cash flow, couldn't continue to be profitable as soon as you bought it. So you want to think about having a clear and strong management team, right people in the right seat. Over the past few months, as I've been working with David Luperger, who is an exit strategist for contractors, I've been reading this book, The Exit Planning Coach. It's by John Deeney, and it's really helped me see things differently. So we're referencing a few books here and thinking about team, right people, right seat, so that things can run smoothly when someone buys the business. I went to a local Jacksonville networking event a couple years back, and I met a guy. He had a business that was generating about $3 million of revenue. And at first I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And he's wanting to sell it. He's getting up there in the years. It's like, well, good for you. But then he started sharing a little bit more. He was working 60-hour work weeks. 60-hour work weeks. He wasn't making all that much money either, which was even sadder. Imagine having a big business, you're generating millions of dollars, but then you're not even enjoying the ride. So what he didn't do is he didn't think ahead and build a team that could run the business for him. He didn't think about who would need to be in this business to have it continually run when I'm gone. If he's putting 60 hours in a week, that's not going to be sustainable. He would be selling an overwhelming job to someone to not make that much money and have a lot of responsibility. All right, so a buyer wants to know the company will run smoothly after the acquisition. So you need to think about and plan out in advance the leaders who will manage operations without you. And you want to make sure you got the right people in the right seat, taking the right actions. If you're really considering on selling a business, you've got to pay attention to this sooner rather than later. Because once you get closer to actually making a sale, it's going to be really hard to make that shift. So again, this is part 1. We're covering 8 different topics. And the book that this is coming from is Built to Sell by John Warrillow. First thing we talked about is owner dependency. You don't want a business that depends on you to run. Number 2, we want to make sure that we have recurring revenue. So you want to make sure that you have recurring revenue such as subscriptions, annual contracts, memberships, things of that nature. Number 3, you want to have a niche and be known for a niche. What is your expertise? Rather than trying to be everything to everyone, what are you known for? What groups are you known in? And number 4, team. You want to build a strong team that can continue running the business upon your exit. So these are the things to pay attention to. Now, if you've worked through this whole process and you've rated everything from 1 to 5, the next step would be what I call a little process of systematic amplification. And that's just a fancy word that I've coined that talks about how to pick an area. Doesn't really matter which one. You could pick an area that you feel that if you focused on improving in that area, just by a little bit, would have a big impact on your business. Now, you may not be concerned about selling your business now. You may not be concerned about the value of your business. However, even if you don't worry about selling your business right now, improving in these areas will make your business run smoother. It'll improve cash flow. It'll improve profitability. So those are the things that we'd want to pay attention to, why this is important. So choose one area, not trying to do everything at once. Choose one area that you feel would have the biggest impact and improve things. If you improved your score, you can go from a 3 to a 4, from a 4 to a 5, whatever it is. It's systematic amplification. So for example, and then I'll wrap this up because these are supposed to be 20 minutes. If you said recurring revenue, right now, a lot of our work is project-based. So I need to get recurring revenue. One thing I could do is introduce a subscription. And you could put a subscription package together, begin offering it, and start getting recurring revenue. Very simple. Small hinges, swing big doors. So this has been an Amplified Power session. My name is Kenny Harper, and I encourage you to take new actions so you can achieve new results. If you have questions, thoughts, feedback, please put it in the comments. Other than that, I'll continue this exploration in our next session. Until next time, keep on amplifying.